Burke and Hare were real characters, and in Scotland, they're very infamous. I mean, they're tourist attractions, very much like Jack the Ripper in London. But I was at Ealing Studios visiting my friend, Gorinda Chadha, who's a British filmmaker who has an office there. And I was telling her how much I admired the old Ealing comedies, especially they made a whole series of black ones, Kind Hearts and Coronets, Lady Killers, Man in the White Suit. Comedies, even I'm All Right, Jack, comedies with a very dark undertone. And I said how much I admired those films, because they were so, Kind Hearts and Coronets is this witty, elegant movie in which Dennis Price plays a serial killer and murders Alec Guinness like 8 times, different. It's so blatantly black, and I enjoyed that. And so she said, why don't you talk to Barnaby Thompson? Who? Barnaby has restarted Ealing as a picture company. So I did. I met with Barnaby. This was only a year ago. I met with Barnaby Thompson, and we talked. I told him how much I admired the old films, and he said, I have a script that might interest you, and he gave me a screenplay, Burke and Hare, which was 6 years old. And it was written by Piers Ashworth and Nick Moorcroft. Don't you love those names? Piers Ashworth and Nick Moorcroft. They sound like characters in a Sherlock Holmes book. Anyway, but what appealed to me was these were really terrible people. And Burke and Hare were horrendous, terrible, cold-blooded killers. It's a terrible story, that the true story is worse than the story we tell. And it's been made, I guess, 15 or 16 times. I've found, I even found just recently in a Hammer film called Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, Burke and Hare characters in it. I went, oh, look, 17. But anyway, the best one's probably the British film called Flesh and the Fiends. But Robert Wise made The Body Snatchers, Boris Karloff, Val Lewton picture, based on the Robert Louis Stevenson story, which is based on, Jesus Christ, I'm exhausted. I'm all burnt and jet-lagged. Burke and Hare. And one of the things, did you ever see The Doctor and the Devils? Well, Doctor and the Devils is also Burke and Hare. It was written by Dylan Thomas, and it's a great play. The movie's not very good because Freddie Francis rewrote Dylan Thomas. He's got a lot of balls, But anyway, the idea of taking these bad guys and this dreadful story and making them attractive leading men was so perverted, especially, I read it and I said, you guys are trying to make Charles Manson into Sidney Carlton, the hero of Tale of Two Cities. And I said, that's outrageous. And so I worry that people are thinking that I'm making some kind of horror comedy or something, but in fact my intention is to make a romantic comedy. And I'm making a movie about murder and dissection and grave robbing and vivisection, and I want it to be sweet. So that's a challenge, and so that's what I did. There's a strange thing going on in the movies now, which is that because money is so tight around the world, and it's so expensive to market a movie. It's common, very, very common for studios to spend more money selling a movie than making the movie. The economics have gone screwy, plus the studios are now all multinational corporations. So everything's changed, and that means that they don't take as many risks. And so they want to take safe, conservative, mass audience, comic book movies, things that have pre-sold titles, remake sequels and stuff. Television, which I've always thought television was pretty good, but what's interesting is that television now has become you can make pictures for cable television that the studio won't make for theaters. So in TV, you can do wonderful things now. And there is great television being done now. But I don't think it's a competition. I think it's cyclical. And they're showing a movie here called The Social Network, which I saw about 2 weeks ago, and I'm thrilled. It's a wonderful movie. And I was so excited because it's the kind of movie that Hollywood hasn't made in a long time. And there's no, you know, it was thrilling for me because it's wonderful dialogue, it's well made, it's an interesting story. You know, these days, I look back at the 70s and the 80s and I look at pictures like Network, Chinatown, and you know, so many great movies. They wouldn't make those movies now. So, I like television. I don't have any problem with television.
There's also the question about Trading Places on Italian TV every Christmas.
I did not know Trading Places was on Italian TV every Christmas. And is it with commercials?
I suppose so, yes.
I'm not happy about that. But it's in Italy and England and France. They show it every Christmas. In the United States, they show it anytime they want. And I'm pleased, though. That's nice. In Godfather 2, one of my favorite moments in movies is Godfather 2. There's a scene with Lee Strasberg and Al Pacino. I forgot the character's name, but Hyman Roth. When the Corleone, the new Don, goes to see Hyman Roth, and they sit down across from one another. It's about a 3-minute dialogue where they talk about the history of the Corleones and Roth, and it's you murdered my son, you tried to kill my father, you killed my best friend, we stole this from you. I mean, it's this litany of murder, terrible, terrible things. They go through this insane history, the absolute shocking history. And then Strasberg says, but this is the business we've chosen. And they make a deal. And and it's, I have a friend, it's like in the movie business when I'm particularly frustrated, I think, but this is the business we've chosen.